Okay guys, we're back for part 2 of our technology talk, and today we're talking about how to curb your own phone addiction. Not that you're addicted, but you might be.
We
A lot of us
sometimes.
are. Yeah, I mean, we have been for sure. There's been times when I have been, and I want to share some things that we've learned and hopefully help each other learn ways to use technology and social media and have it benefit our lives and not detract from our
Because
happiness.
we love it. It's actually great. It's tremendous, but it can be such a deterrent sometimes. And I feel frustrated by that, by the need to just be there every day. And I'm like, I don't need to be there every day, but it's hard to kick that constant habit, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So the average American checks their phone once every 12 minutes. It's just compulsive, or 80 times a day. Adam Alter, who is an incredible researcher on this topic, you should watch his TED Talk and read his book, Irresistible. But he says that the average American uses their phone 4 hours a day, and that's a quarter of our waking lives. That's 11 years looking at a screen, all in all.
That's a long time. Now,
Yeah.
some of that's work, though, too.
Oh, for sure,
Some
yeah.
of it's necessary, but...
Well, I mean, man, I wouldn't want to live in any other time. I'm so
Yeah.
glad we have all of the conveniences offered to us through our phones. So we're not here to be like, oh my gosh, be scared of phone use or technology. We're here because we're active users of our phone and Instagram, for our business, but we don't want it to take over. So again, we're just trying to help us and you find some balance.
Yeah, and there's certain places where you're going to find more joy in what you're looking at, versus just the mind-numbing stuff. I think one of the cool things that Adam talked about, like we're on first name basis.
We totally are.
But one of the cool things he talked about is that in today's, with technology, with your phone, there's no stopping cue. There's no end of a show, end of a book, end of a newspaper, some sort of a cue to say, okay, let's move on and do something else. It's just endless. It never stops.
Endless
It just keeps
scrolling
going.
and clicking. Yeah.
And like when I get in that mode where I'm just like on Facebook or Instagram and I've been there for a few minutes, I'm like, let's just keep going down. Let's just keep going down.
Yeah.
It just keeps going and going.
Well, and it seems
going.
easier to stay there in that world than to tear yourself away
Yeah.
and go do something productive.
And how many times have I been, so silly, I've been frustrated with the kids. Like I'm reading an article on probably nothing important, probably a sports something. And one of my kids needs my attention. I'm like, oh my gosh, just give me a minute to finish this. And I'm like, that is the complete opposite way that I want to use technology and that I want my family to see me using technology. And I do it all the time.
Yeah, we all do.
So
totally.
it's a struggle, but we're working on it. And I think we've come a long way.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Well, and we have to remember that social media is designed to be addictive, and the apps on our phones are designed to keep us there because that's how these companies make their money. So it's not like you are a weakling if you find yourself spending so many hours on your phone every day, because that's how it's designed. No matter how great a person you are or what your intentions may be, it will suck you in because that's what it's designed to
And
do.
sometimes if I've had a long day, that's what I need for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I need to go read news
Yeah.
or I need to look at, I need to escape. So
And that's okay.
And that's okay
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so we just want to ask a few questions to ourselves and to you guys. Are you happy with the amount of time you're spending on your phone? And is it fulfilling to you the way you're spending your time on your phone? Is it fulfilling to you? I'm sure there will be some gray area there because sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But chances are you might want to tighten up your phone use a little bit. And that's why we're here. So a few quick tips, and we've talked about some of these in our last video, part 1, which we'll put here. Hopefully if I can figure that out. Don't want to overpromise here. We're still new to this, but we turn our phones off as close to 10 as we can. Sometimes there's exceptions, but turn the phones off at 10, and we don't have our phones at the dinner table. We keep our phones out of our room at night so that we're not sleeping by them. And using screen time settings is another one. That helps me. And I will admit, so you just go into your settings on your phone and there's screen time and you can set limits for each app. And I will say I've ignored it so many times because you can override it and say ignore limit for 15 minutes. But even if I tap ignore for 15 minutes, it still helps me because it gives me that split second to stop and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I've been on here for half an hour and I don't have much to show for it. So it gives me pause. Even if I overwrite it, I'm like, I'm not going to overwrite it 10 times. Do you know what I mean? So even if you're not obeying it perfectly all the time, it's still good to have in there, the screen time settings. And then also just being aware of how much time you're spending on your phone right now. And we wanted to check our phones while you guys are here watching. So swipe left and then scroll down and it will say screen time. And it will tell you these interesting statistics, like how much time you've spent on social media, how much time you've spent reading and reference. Let's see, all my limits are up there, and how many times you've picked up your phone. That's what's interesting to me.
You're 8 per hour, I'm at 5 per
I
hour.
picked it up 8 per hour.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's just good for you to be aware. How
Yeah.
many times are you reaching for your phone per hour, and then
Yeah.
think, "Gosh, do I need to be doing that? Is that
Yeah. Do
just
I
a
want to be
habit?"
doing that?
And
And if
what-
you do, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but
I would
yeah.
say one thing that we didn't mention that you, Kimberly, have
Thanks for
kind of-
clarifying.
have
No
worked
other
into-
she's here.
have worked into our family that I actually really like. On Sunday especially, she puts her phone in a drawer, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
really awesome because if you can't see it, you're not going to pick it up. And I just thought, what a great way to like really get it out of sight, out of mind. Put it in your car, put it in a drawer, during the times that you know you don't actually need to be there. And
Yeah.
it's something that I would like to incorporate as like when I know I'm going to be with the kids or doing whatever I'm going to do and I don't need my phone for the next 4 hours, I'm just going to put it away because I don't need it.
Yeah, I think you do that sometimes. But yeah, I've tried to dedicate Sunday, and it could be any day for you, but Sunday as more of a family day and a tech break day. We have our iWatches and we take them off and put them away on Sunday just because it's nice to get a total break, put phones in a drawer and be screen free for the day and more present with our family. Because I feel like if we do that once a week, and of course there's exceptions to that rule sometimes for us, but if we do that, then it kind of resets our usage and we remember, oh, okay, it helps us not to get too entrenched in the
Honestly,
world
and it
of
gives us
our phones.
and it gives us more energy. We hit Monday really strongly and solidly. I feel like because you're ready to go. You haven't been there all day Sunday.
I'm kind of
which-
a Monday geek. I've always loved
Gosh,
Mondays.
super nerdy. Like
You're a
She's
morning
all like,
geek. You
yeah,
wake up
yeah.
all chipper with the birds, so we all have our
my
things.
it's another topic.
Yes. Okay, so some other things that have helped. Take time to reflect, and we've kind of touched on this, but get out a pen and paper. You know me.
These are honestly like I'm not a pen and paper person, but these are my favorite questions. that
Yeah.
she's gonna ask me.
So ask some questions. Why am I here? I'm talking about Instagram because that's where I spend the most time, but for you it may be a different app or it may be something on the TV or computer. But for me it's Instagram. So ask yourself, why am I here? What's my purpose? Write as much as you can about that. What's my purpose for being here? Write down all the reasons. What are the pros and cons of me being here on Instagram? What are the good things? What are the drawbacks? How does it help me? How might it hurt me? Who am I following and why? Are there some people I can mute or unfollow to be happier here? Although our happiness does not depend on other people, right? But sometimes it can help to make sure your environment is, you have the people surrounding you online who you want to be surrounding you. Are there more accounts I can follow who will add inspiration to my life right now? And how much time am I spending on my phone? Like we talked about, be realistic about how much time you're spending there every day. Use stats. Don't just use
Yeah,
your
use
mind
the
because
stats, that's what I was gonna
they
say.
studies show that if you guess, you're way, way off most of the time. You use it like triple as much as you think you are. Not always the case, but that's kind of the average stat. So get real with how much you're using your phone and the specific apps that you're trying to tone down your usage on. And then make a goal, like how much time would you like to be spending on your phone? What's realistic for you? Taking into account the things that you need to do and want to do there. Don't be way too drastic with cutting down, but maybe you just need to shave off half an hour a day or 10 minutes a day. I don't know. Do you want to set up some type of, 1 day a week break? In addition to that, reflection time is taking breaks. And that has been key for me. I know I've talked about it a few times if you follow me over on Talk Wordy to Me, but I took a month-long break about a year ago and I had just felt like I needed to. It was like this nagging feeling like you gotta get away from this for just a little while to reset and to learn some things. And I wrote an article about it that got reposted by a good amount of other websites, and it was really interesting for me to just delete the app from my phone, from Instagram, and be away from it. Because again, I love Instagram and I missed it in some ways. I was like, oh, it really is a connection place for me. And so that's why I came back and I love it. But I noticed some things. I don't know how far we want to get into that because I learned a lot of lessons, but one was just to self-validate instead of, needing people on Instagram, to tell me and give me validation. That was one thing, just learning to self-validate, because I think we become dependent on that sometimes when we're sharing our moments and sharing our achievements and sharing things online in whatever way you're doing that. We want that, validation, which is okay as long as we don't get too dependent on it, right? Yeah. And then I think the biggest thing I noticed, and in this article that I wrote, which I'll link as well, at least in the, what do you call them? Not the show notes, that's a podcast. What do you call them on YouTube? The something down there. The comments? Yeah, comments, I think. Description? Yeah, so I'll put it down there. But the biggest thing I noticed is just that there's so much life to be lived out there. And sometimes I was getting too caught up in my screen and treating that like my world instead of the people around me and the experiences around me. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to live my life through an app or through a lens. I want to be here fully for it. And I noticed I was just more happy, more grounded, and more at peace with myself and my place in the world. So
yeah, and I think so. The call to action for us, and you're here because you want to be here, and hopefully this is helpful for you, and it's really helpful for us to revisit this, is to set a winnable goal, and it doesn't matter where you're at and how you're using apps. And I'm not as much on the social side. I'd be more on the news and ESPN and some sports stuff that I can, that I know that I can whittle down. But set an achievable goal that you can win every single day, and whether that's I don't check my phone first thing in the morning. Maybe you delete one app. Maybe you spend consciously 5 less minutes than you did the day before. Set a winnable goal, and you'll be amazed at how you feel about, I did that and I achieved that and I felt so good about that and I'm living my life the way that I want to, and I'm taking back that control, because that is liberating.
Yeah, well said. I think the take-home message as well is just to fill your life with the things you really want to be doing and the things that really fill you up. Add that to your reflection page of writing. Like, what are the things that really fill you up and you feel amazing after you do them? Do more of that. Make sure you're scheduling that in, because oftentimes we feel so busy and overwhelmed and you can't fit one more thing in. But honestly, if you take away even a portion of the time you're spending on your phone, which is more than you probably realize, you could get so much more of the good stuff in. And once you make time and you make room for that good stuff, then naturally, the overuse of the technology you're on is going to balance out. So, do you want to talk about Adam Alter's analogy of the driving fast on a freeway?
And he showed a picture of a beautiful vista of an ocean, and he's driving on a freeway, and his analogy is you can keep going down that lane and you can just take a quick picture of that beach, that beautiful landscape, or you can stop and you can get out of your car and you can take your shoes off and your socks off and you can feel the sand, how it feels on your feet. You can walk down to the water and let the waves come up on your feet and feel that and take that moment in very personally. Mm-hmm. And I love that analogy because, so often we hurry and take the picture and feel like that's enough when we could be getting so much more out of that experience.
Yeah, and just having a more full, visceral experience. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes moments, more often than not, they're meant for us to digest, not just to instantly share them. Because sometimes when we do that, we don't get out of the moment what we're supposed to learn and experience because we're just passing it on. And there's value in that again. But something that I try and do in a beautiful landscape or a really cool experience, obviously our first instinct is oh my gosh, I have to document this and share this. But first, I try and take a few breaths.
She actually runs experience. Away from me. She walks away from everybody. Just experience. Sometimes I do. She needs a moment.
Sometimes I do. But I try and take a few breaths and experience that for myself before I'm okay, now I'm going to share it with the world. So just experience first, share later. And I guess the whole idea is to be present. That's what we want to do, right? Is to be present in our lives and with the people in front of us, and to use technology to help us do that and use it to our advantage. So that's all we've got to say. Do you have anything else?
No, I hope that helps. Okay. Let us know.
Yep. See you guys.
Thanks.